I got 251 likes, and compared to some other ones, but it's up there, And you know what's crazy? People were disagreeing. Now let's read.
What?
Let's read some of the people who say they don't support free speech. Um, let's see. No, it's not okay to just say anything, and there needs to be laws. And then someone asked, "What do you think the laws should be then?" And then they got no response, which was quite telling, I think. If you say something awful and barbaric online to get infected by the police, you probably deserve it. I don't like communism nor fascism, but I sure as hell will defend the right to say the most vile words. They deserve that right just as much as you and I do. By censoring speech, you will push people to the extremes of political ideology. Ironically, this will lead to more violence and barbarism, as you put it. I think you should ask yourself what is barbaric to me and then what is barbaric to another person, because I think you'll find that every person has a unique perception. So in future, when someone's calling your words barbaric, who will defend your speech? And I think this is, and I think there was a bunch of people who were on my side and saying, yeah. So it is nice to see that some people still support free speech within the UK. Um, obviously
Do
that's
you
a
think the
very.
majority don't?
I I think people will say they support free speech, but I don't think they genuinely support free speech. I personally don't. Not anymore, at least. I've seen countless times after times of people just being people will make an exception to free speech, hate
Yeah,
speech,
yeah.
and it's not, and ironically they'll be you know, they'll be like, hate speech isn't a valid form of speech. It's harmful, and then you're like, you just said it's speech, though. You just called it speech. And free speech is meant to cover all speech. And then they say speech isn't hate speech, and you can free speech just means you can say what you want, but it isn't freedom of consequences. Oh, gotcha. And it's like, what? That's the entire point. You're meant to be protected. That's
Yeah.
there's
Plain free speech. Yeah.
there's zero other point to free speech if you're not meant to be able to say what you want. Like, otherwise, what's the point? Okay, so you're allowed to say what you want, but you can be arrested. I think everyone would agree that's not free speech. That's an example of a dictatorship or something. And then you get into this and then it's like they're just trying to, for some reason, they're trying to find all these exceptions to free speech, right? And it's just this whole pantomime you play with people, trying to convince them that free speech is actually worth something protecting because we fought so long for it, and they're just nah. So it's disappointing. But that's the state of the UK. It's just it's crazy, the world of politics right now. I made a simple comment, and I feel like that comment should get universal bipartisan agreement, because it's no matter your ideology, defend free speech. And the crazy thing is too, Samuel, right? People on the left and the right are being attacked for their speech. Where was I?
Yeah, where are we? Like bipartisan universal recognition, because what you're saying isn't
Isn't
it's so funny how such moderate and such baseline facts are treated as wild views. Oh, you can't say that. What you think we should be allowed to say stuff without consequences and without fear? What? You're crazy.
Yeah. And they're this is the one that annoys me the most. It's the one that says freedom of speech isn't freedom of consequences. It is. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
There's no other way you can convince me that that's a valid form of argument in some weird fairyland. And the crazy thing is, people, you know what's crazy? We are living in a time where people are actively censoring speech because they think it's too extreme or hateful or racist. It's completely crazy the times we live in now. We fought so hard, right? We fought over human history. I'm talking the grand scheme of things. We fought so hard to get to this point, and then we're just people are just yeah.
Yes,
Fuck.
nah.
It's all good, man. Free speech and all that. We fought hard, but it for them it isn't about that, right? For us it's about that, but for the
it's
other
for them it's
side,
about safety and
about
whatever.
safety, yeah, exactly, about safety, security, right, and about making them feel safer. And the ironic thing is, right, I've heard someone talk about this, I can't remember his name, but by censoring free speech, right, and I didn't really think about this that much, to be honest, but you are going to push people away from the moderate side, because if
Oh
you
yeah,
look at
obviously, yes. We're
if
gonna
you
push them.
exactly, because if you look at like in history, right, and I'm talking about, like, let's look at school shooters and like mass shooters, right? If you look at what they're saying, usually it's something along the lines of, I had no other choice, this was my last alternative, you know. They feel marginalized. That's what I'm talking about, you know. They feel
Yeah, yeah.
marginalized. And okay, so they feel marginalized, but like, that's because we aren't allowing their voices to be heard. What I mean, right, is like, you know how Twitter and YouTube and a bunch of stuff censor a lot. They do a lot of censoring,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and some of that is, it's a bit murky. Like part of me wants to say they're a private company, so they can censor their own platform, right? But on the same hand, it's YouTube is basically a public tool at this point, right? Like, it's basically a public forum,
Yeah.
essentially. Like, it acts as a big like town square, if you have it, you know. And so censoring it is like just censoring speech as if the government did it, you know. Nothing crazy. Okay, so but yeah, anyway, we could go on about free speech for all day, and we could be like, we need more free speech. I think it'll be quite hard to convince the other side, to be honest. I have convinced one person that I know of, at least one person I know affirmatively, because I said, do you support hate speech? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, but why? Like, have you ever thought like it? And they said it's hurtful, it hurts people's feelings. I'm like, but
Okay, so you're playing the other side here to get their
yeah,
view.
I was like, this happens a lot of the time. I said to him, like, I said to him, like, I said to him, I use a pizza example, right? I say, if I ordered pizza and we were talking about flavors, and I just said, okay, we're having pineapple on pizza, and you're like, no, I don't want pizza, and I said, shut up, right? And how would you feel? You'd obviously feel quite bad about it, right? Now, this is just a metaphor. It's an aller. It's not the same level, right? Obviously, it's not the same level as like
Yeah,
hate
yeah, of
speech.
course.
But it's meant to show to the example that if you tell someone to shut up, what's going to happen? They're going to get angry, right? And that's going to lead to a school shooting. That's going to lead to a mass shooting. That's going to lead to violence. And you see in the UK right now, right? The reason why Reform and Restore Britain are getting stronger is because the left, so Labour, and the Greens are
Yes,
shutting
and
speech.
not
They're
just the
censoring
left, like
speech.
even moderates
Even
too. They're,
moderates, yeah.
I know, of course, we don't support the views of reform and restore, but like still, the people, the moderates even, are just shunning them so much. They're silencing their voices completely that it's pushing more people towards them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. And the thing is, the left and the moderates, they think they're doing this really good thing. You know, they think they're
Yes,
like
they pray, they
superheroes.
pat themselves on the back. Yes,
And they're
yes.
like, hey man, we're fighting the good fight. When no, you are actually, very, like, ironically, you are making more people into reform voters by telling them to shut up, by arresting them for saying stuff. Have you seen this? Like, after there was a big riot, the Southport riots, I believe it was called.
All right, yes,
It was over a murder, right? That, you know, that murder. It was quite big news, I think.
yes, yes.
And you know, there was a huge riot. They arrested a bunch of people. Some of it valid, some of it totally unvalid. And I'd say the amount of people they arrested unvalid was, it outweighed it. Like, it totally outweighed it. And that's where the term, have you ever heard two-tier policing?
Yes, yes.
That's where the term two-tier policing came from. Because they arrested a lot of these right-wing activists, but they didn't arrest a lot of left-wing activists, right? And then, now, you know Palestine Action? You heard
Yeah.
it's a terrorist group in the UK now. So, a very, and I don't like them. I think they're a very bad group, but I don't
Yes, and
think
that's a separate problem, labeling groups as terrorist organizations.
that is a whole separate option. But they're
Yeah.
very obviously not a terrorist organization. Okay, it's a joke that they are.
Yes.
It's if you say I support them, that's enough to get you arrested. By the way, I saw it. It happens in
Oh,
London.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you say I support them, I'm not saying it. Okay, just for the record.
Yeah, for the
but
express reason, yeah, yeah.
but if you say it, you will be arrested, which is
In public, yeah.
yeah crazy. It's so it's like saying like I don't know, and now it's become an issue of the left and the right are being censored, because they have opinions that the establishment doesn't like. Um, it's just crazy in my opinion. I just don't understand it. I wish we could all agree across the political spectrum that we just need to respect each other's right to free speech. And that includes hate speech, okay? As much as you want to be like, oh, let's protect black people because they need to be hugged and cared for, and let's protect the gays and the LGBT, and let's protect the Asians. They don't need to be what's the word I'm looking for? Snuggled or something.
Yeah, of course.
They listen. Offensive things are gonna happen, no matter what you do in life. Okay, and no matter who you are, there's someone's gonna find something to be offensive to you for, right? Like,
Yes, and of course. And plus, what I find the most shocking is how people actively subscribe to their own liberty being, taken away from them. Like everybody, like if you ask somebody on the street, should we outlaw hate speech? They'd be like, yeah, probably that
yeah,
sounds like a good idea.
yeah,
Because if you don't look into it that much, it sounds like, hey, stop people from saying harmful and dangerous things. Yeah, that sounds perfect. But like, it never starts. Like people always wonder, like back in throughout history, whenever, how people always aid tyranny, aid dictatorship, aid whatever. It's never like, oh, in the morning, boom, there's a dictator. It's always small steps. Like one day you take away the rights of people to express their opinion. The next day you ban whatever, some literature, some.
some literature. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. It's the truth is.
Oh, sorry about that. I was cut off for a
Oh,
second.
you're cut off.
Yes, there was. Yeah, it's given to us in so many examples throughout history,
Yeah,
and people still nowadays are like, yeah, sounds fine. Give me security instead of liberty,
I
but that security can be prescribed to you by the, like you said, by the establishment, the authority, and they can do what they like with that power.
yeah, like when you say let's outlaw hate speech, all well and good, right? I actually personally believe even if it was like a perfect, in theory, like there was a perfectly impartial body outlawing it, like I still wouldn't agree with it. But some people would argue that we shouldn't ban it just because the government's impartial. But I think that's a slightly different debate, just very. There's a slight bit of
Well, the
nuance.
government is never impartial.
Yeah,
That's one thing.
the government's never impartial. There isn't like some like impartial board who's gonna be like, this is hate speech, this isn't. Like they're gonna draw like very like definite lines. Like no, it's gonna be some overlap, right? And there's gonna be innocent people arrested, even if you believe it should be a crime, which it shouldn't, in my opinion. It's completely ridiculous. But yeah, people are just
Plus, again,
walking
where do you
into it.
draw that line? People get offended over the smallest things, like you yourself saw with your
I know.
comment on the YouTube video. Like you were just saying that free speech should have no exception,
Yeah, yeah.
which is in the name. It's given to you free speech, freedom of speech with no consequence, and that angered people in itself. So, is that hate speech? Is that hate speech?
Like it is. It's very murky. Like
Yeah,
it's did you know it's also illegal to insult a police officer? It's illegal. I'm almost
yeah. To
certain it
insult,
is.
yeah, that's under the new. Yeah, yeah. I read that under the new Public Safety Act. It's illegal to insult a public servant.
Yeah, which is
That covers like even postman. If you be rude to your postman, you can be arrested.
yeah. So here it is. It being rude is not automatically, but it can cross a line into a public order violation if the language becomes abusive or harassment or anything. So it's illegal to use threatening or abusive words. A bit broad, right? A very
Yes, and that's
that
the point. That's the exact point. You can't have clear outlines because then there'll be set
yes.
boundaries. But if it's vague, then hey, you can be arrested for anything. Perfect. Problem.
It's perfect because if someone they don't like, the establishment I'm talking about, if they don't like a certain political activist, then they can bring up this stupid law. They can say, "Hey, you broke this code, and interpret it really broadly when they wouldn't interpret it broadly for someone else per
Yes,
se.
otherwise,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And that's the next step, I reckon, because they're already, well, it already is happening actually. They're already arresting people for saying
Well,
stuff.
yeah.
In the UK, at least, it's really just it's really bad. It's
I know there's one like a street quiz. I was seeing a guy on YouTube. He was asking people on the street, uh, how many people were arrested in Russia for violating their speech laws? Is it
mhm.
more or less than the UK? And obviously everyone said, oh, Russia has to have more like arrest cases for their speech laws because it's a totalitarian country, obviously. But no, it surpassed the UK surpassed Russia by a factor of three.
By a
Three times
factor
as
of
many people
three
were arrested.
times. Holy shit!
Yes. Well, if they were, I didn't like research this thoroughly,
Yeah,
but
well,
yeah, I was
I'm sure the Russian
reading a
governments
bit about
arrest
it. But yeah,
people for other reasons that are probably for their speech, but they use a different excuse. Probably,
yeah,
very
probably.
likely.
But still, in the UK,
It's well,
to
it's
have
still a
it
shocking number, isn't it? Like,
even have it comparable to Russia, but
yeah,
by a factor of three, that's
and it just goes to show. And these aren't like some like cold-hearted criminals. These are probably people who are on Facebook who have who sure
yes, the
maybe
one that went viral on the internet, just the Facebook dad just, with the police showing up to his front door saying to his face that we're arresting you because you posted this on Facebook.
yeah, it's like these are people who are paying taxes. These are people who have families. You know, let's put this into perspective. Like we often talk about these people who are being arrested as if like they're anonymous, like boogeymen. But like normally
Yeah,
they're
like
people who have families. They have lives. They pay taxes. They work. And they're not like bad people. Like maybe we disagree with them, but like they're not murdering people.
yeah,
They're
they're
not killing
citizens
people.
of our nation.
Yeah, they're your brothers of arms. Like they're your fellow countrymen, whether you like it or not. And so you're just and goes back to my point. You're just gonna make people way angrier. Like imagine being arrested for your speech, right? You're in handcuffs. You're being treated like a criminal, like someone who was stealing or who killed someone. Even like you're in the same jail
Yeah,
as
imagine
them.
being escorted from your own home in handcuffs. How will that make you feel?
It's humiliating, and it's gonna make them really angry, right? Like you, and also let's just look at the fact that like these people are probably in prison right now, together. Like they're probably in some of the same prisons, working and talking together, and probably even getting more extremist and getting more crazy ideas to like do something worse. Like that's the next step. And that scares me as well. Reform and restore Britain, who are gonna. I honestly I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do an insurrection one day or a big riot. Like it doesn't. I don't give them that much credit to be that good. Who knows? Maybe they are really good people. I'm not saying all reform voters are bad as well. They have very legitimate concerns over immigration. Like now immigration for me is a very hard debate. I feel very. I
Yes,
think
that's
you
one
feel
to
the
get into.
same. You feel the same as well. I know that because on one
Yes,
hand, to be honest, I really don't care about closed borders that much. I'm quite pro immigration. I think it's generally quite beneficial. But I do see the cause because obviously it's really expensive, a lot of it. And this
yes,
goes
like me and you, we don't support any welfare state
well, yeah, not a
in a
big one
such
at
extent. Well,
least.
obviously, I'm a bit more left wing than you are.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not what we have today, anyhow.
Yeah, no, I think it's too extensive. But the reason why I say welfare state and not just specifying about immigrants, I think it's too big for everyone. I think it's too much of a headache. Like,
Yes, like you say, I'm all for an open border. Like, please come in. You're welcome. I don't mind. But like, we can't be dishing out not to you, not to your neighbor, not to whoever, a citizen of this country, even dishing out free lunches, as they say. There's no free lunch.
but yeah, like and I think it's quite good. The government is doing one thing that I agree with. They're using former military bases to house immigrants. I think that's a good idea. I think that's it'll save a lot of money because they guess how many hotels they used to have in the UK for immigrants. You'll be quite
Actually,
shocked.
don't know
About
how many.
400
Oh,
hotels. That's
okay,
quite a
okay.
lot. They're down to about 200 right now, I think. Rough numbers. And and so that's about half in about a year or so, or 2 years. but it's still quite crazy because how much is a hotel room? At least £100 a night, right? So how many 200 hotels? Let's say how many people you gonna have in each hotel? Realistically, about maybe like 50 at least. So like, let's do the math. I've got a
Yeah,
calculator.
a bit more probably, I'd say.
200 times 50 people per one, then times £100. That's a million per night. Pounds. Probably more expensive. That's a quite a conservative
Yeah, that's not
estimate.
including food and whatever else
That's
allowances
yeah. You
and
need food costs, all these things, right? So it's probably at least a couple million, if not in the tens of millions per night, right? Not per year or month or week, per night.
yeah, and plus multiply by how many hotels you said?
200.
400?
Well, you two
Oh yeah.
hundred nowadays. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's my estimate for 200 hotels. But that's a really low ball. That's a really conservative. Like really, we're not giving them much. We're giving them a lot of what's the name?
Yeah, like
Leeway here.
leeway.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt. So realistically, it's costing, I'd say, a minimum 10 million per night, which is a lot. It builds up over the year. Obviously, 365 days. Well, let's just one. Okay, if it is 1 million per night, that's well, that's yeah, that's. Sorry, I'm doubting my math here. It is 365 million per year. For yeah, for my number at least. If we're saying it's a million to house every immigrant in a hotel, and then obviously that's not even count. That's just immigrant hotels I'm counting, and the night per night, and that's not food. So it's a lot. It is a lot. So it is a problem. So they need to find a way to cut down costs, right? And kind of
Yes,
make.
but you see, the problem is this, like these figures, like we had this conversation the last day, pure facts,
Mhm.
how you can't win an argument with pure facts, but Reform and Restore are using these figures, whatever the real
That's
numbers
true.
are, the
That's
money
true.
spent on these immigrants, they're using this to galvanize people against the actual immigrants themselves, against the people.
That's true. That's
The
true.
people aren't the problem.
Mm.
Immigrants are welcome, as I say, but the problem is with the government and with the
Spending
allocation
money.
of all this
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
funding. Exactly, yes.
I've said this before. I think we need to get work visas for immigrants faster. Like I think they need to just kind of
Yes,
expedite
because
it.
their main complaint is that, oh, I can't find work. I have
Yeah,
no visa, no permission, no whatever.
yeah. So either they work illegally, get
And
deported,
that's,
or
again, one of
yeah,
my big views. Too much bureaucracy.
yeah.
That's also hampering everything.
In general, definitely, just everywhere in like modern civilization.
Yeah.
Like I talked about this before. Like if you told someone 100 years ago, or even 200 years ago, we'll go a bit further. Like in fact there was going to be planning permission. In fact, like you had to like ask for
Yeah,
permission
to
to
build
build
your
it.
house, you need to have five different permissions from the local authority, the
Yeah,
council,
and there's like
the.
and like did you know in the UK, right? Every time how in other countries there's called zoning laws. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you make an area for residential, for example, and then normally you're just allowed to build on it without getting permission. In the UK, you have to get permission for each building. Like like
Yeah, every single.
if it's a development, I'm pretty sure they can get a permit for like the whole development. I'm not exactly sure how this works, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure they can get a permit for the whole development. But then again, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's different in the UK because you cannot get there's no zoning like in
Yeah, no,
America
no.
or in Europe. And here we do it by permit basis, so it just slows things down. Like there's it's like you have like 10 books in front of you. Like you have to open and go through one book and then the next book one by one. It just slows everything down, and it just that layer of red tape. And I get it, right? That a lot of bureaucracy is for what's the saying? Like every rule is written something like written in blood or something. I can't remember. Okay, it's like
Yeah, something like
regulation.
that. Anyways, yeah.
It's something like that. But like if
No, I
I
get it. It's like have everything centralized in like one administration to have everything a paper trail, yes. So
yeah
if something goes wrong, you can backtrack. Fine, I get that, but there's just too much of this red tape and just silver lining in general. Like when a normal person wants to, for example, in your residential property permission like papers. Like if a normal person wants to, get stuff done, they have to go through everything.
Mm-hmm.
But this breeds. I know we don't talk about corruption in the first world, but like if you have connections, you can get around this so easily.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's not corruption isn't as big as a problem in obviously other countries, but we
I
obviously.
know I don't mean corruption in the sense that you're stealing money from the government,
I think
stealing
I
assets from the
think you
government, but
mean
just
if you know someone, right? In the
yes, you can get
yeah,
stuff done like this, like this, like this. It's
yeah,
so
that's true. That
yes,
I've seen it
that's
firsthand,
the sense I'm talking
literally
about. Yes,
firsthand. Like if you know someone in a certain department, it makes your life a lot easier. Like literally, like
yes,
it can take instead of months waiting for something to be approved, you can get it in a couple weeks. And
yeah.
it's just great. I mean, I feel this. I just there's so much bureaucracy for everything now. I think I saw something about like I can't remember. I can't get it off the top of my mind. It's hard to think off the top of your head when you're talking to
I
someone.
told you in Ireland is my example. We have a dog license.
You have a
If you
dog.
want to buy a dog from a shelter, yes, you have
Are
to
you
pay
joking?
an annual
Surely.
fee. No, look this up right now.
You have a dog license in Ireland.
Yes,
That's so dystopian. You got a
and
license for
my
your dog, mate.
yeah, my that's my favorite video on the internet. There's a video of a security camera footage on somebody's house, and two people from the council, officers from the council, they come up to this guy's house, they ring the doorbell, and they ask him, "Hey, do you have a dog license?"
That's
And the guy just berates them like, "Are you really? What do you say?" He said, "Are you wasting your shoe leather walking around doing this nonsense?" That's my favorite line. You're wasting good shoe leather.
all. Okay, I don't know if this is true, but all dogs in Ireland must be microchipped. What? Is
Oh,
that
actually,
true?
I didn't hear about this
This
to
is
be honest.
this
I just
is
never
this
had
is
a pet.
fucking. What's next? What happens when you do it to a human? What? No, surely no. I don't believe you have to get microchipping. Seems a bit crazy.
Wait, this is the official government website. Like, yeah, getting my dog on microchip. Yeah. Though it is, I didn't even
You
know this.
have
What that
to.
adds.
It's a. Oh my god! It's fucking
It's an
mandatory.
obligation. Yeah,
Oh my
compulsory. Look at
god!
that.
Jesus Christ! That's really bad.
And you
This
see,
that's
yes, when
shocking.
you look at into it
That's
deeper, this is very bad. But on the surface level, you're like, hey, yes, my dog won't get lost. I'll know where my dog is all times. I'll get a
and the
microchip.
government
No,
will
no
know where
bother.
you are at all times. Your habits. They sell it to corporations probably for data, so they know your habits. That's crazy. That's actually like that's concerning. That's a law.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Wow, my own country, I didn't
Microchipped
know that.
and licensed. And my point is, maybe that sounds inconsequential, right, to like your average
That's
person.
exactly what I'm saying. It
But
sounds like,
like
yeah, this is.
But that's the point is that's one thing. That's one minuscule thing. It's just a dog, right? It's literally just a dog. But you have to get a license and a microchip for a dog. What else do you have to do?
Yes, and that brings us back. Imagine telling this to somebody 100 years ago,
Yeah,
200 years
they go
ago. Like,
crazy, right? Surely, like
you need a license for your dog in your house.
they. I think they wouldn't even understand the concept because it would be that foreign to them. Like they'd be in utter shock and dismay. Like I don't think they could properly grasp that like we are forcing them to get a dog a license and I just don't think they could even grasp it. That's how
Yeah,
weird it
like, and the
is.
crazy thing is, in history, in like our times today, we look back at history, like for example, Russia, the Russian Empire. We laugh at them for having a tax for windows, a tax for salt, a tax for beards, even.
Yeah.
The nobility had to have their beards like paid for
Oh
through
really?
a
I didn't
government
know that.
tax. Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know
So we look back and we laugh at that, like, oh, that's crazy to think,
that.
like, what a
That's
tax
the
for windows.
that's
But
the
like, look at our like regulations and taxation nowadays.
mm. Sugar tax comes to mind. Uh
Yes, like this is literally like medieval taxation, that tax on sugar.
I know, but like it brings to mind the American Revolution for me because they had a big war over taxation, and one of the big things was
Yes,
tax on tea and stamps, right? Wasn't
yes,
that a huge
stamp
thing?
duty.
I'm pretty. We have to pay for stamps now, and I'm pretty sure there's a stamp tax. I'm almost certain, but is there? Well, let's just search it. Oh, might as well. Is there a stamp
You know,
tax?
official documents, you must have, at least in Ireland, you must have
Well,
a
yeah.
stamp duty paid for.
Oh, this is talking about land tax for some reason. Is there a stamp duty? I'm not sure, to be honest. But yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
No, it's like rewritten, reworded for like you go to like the government office, you have to pay a fee, so that's I guess a stamp duty.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's weird, isn't it? Now, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot. There's sugar tax that comes to mind. There's
And all of these excise duties, they're called excise duties to like prevent against like harmful uh,
behaviors.
consumption. For
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
smoking cigarettes, for example, fuel in your car, the CO2 emissions, there's a
Um,
tax on that.
there's a tax. Did you know that bags used to be free in Scotland, but now they cost 10p, because of
Yes, I think Ireland was the first country in the European Union to implement a plastic bag tax.
how
And not tax, a fee
ridiculous.
actually, a fee. Yeah, 20 cents per bag.
How ridiculous is that to make people pay? I think the sugar tax is probably one of the worst examples of government overreach in modern history. It's just like I get that they're trying to encourage people to be healthy. Like that sounds really
Yes, of
noble,
course.
right? But
And
like
they make it sound even better because they say the money from the sugar tax, whatever tax, is being used, for example, the
for
sugar tax
healthcare,
is
yeah,
being used,
exactly,
yes,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
to fund that. But that's even worse because you're marginalizing your own taxation, you're compartmentalizing it. So it's not one big pot.
yeah.
So you're only getting this given amount for this sector, this given amount for this other thing, and it's being used inefficiently.
I recently learned that council tax in the
Yeah.
UK, if you pay it in Scotland, in England it's different, but in Scotland, you send all of it goes to the national government, and then they distribute it based on the needs they deem necessary. The reason why
Yes.
I'm not the biggest fan of that is because it takes a lot of power away from local governments to be able to just do things, right? Like, you know how they always, well, they don't always talk about it, but sometimes they will mention that there's a need for devolution and for local governments, right? But the local governments just don't have the tools to tax or
Yes.
be able to use that
Not
tax.
necessarily. They can have the tools, but they're just not. I don't want to say not trusted, but they don't want to. The central authority doesn't want to relinquish
Yeah,
that control, that power.
well, you look at countries like the UK. UK is a very centralized country, very central compared to a lot of other countries. Like if you look at
Yeah.
America, you have three layers of government generally. You have the federal, the state government, which is still quite a big part of your life, right? And then
Yes.
local
Yes.
government, which isn't as big, but it still has a lot. It
But
has,
it's still
yeah,
there.
local government, for example, in America. I'm pretty sure police and fire is controlled by local government and not by state or federal. So like a
Okay.
sheriff is controlled by the local government directly. It's not like by anyone else. But you obviously you've heard of state troopers, and so there's like three
Yes, I was gonna
different.
say each like mayor of each
Yeah,
not county, that's small, but like state at least. Yeah, state can call in the National Guard in case of
yeah,
what
exactly.
they deem as insurrection. Yes, then they don't need like the consent of Washington.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big issue because um, you hear this phrase a lot, and in fact, Keir Starmer said it, and it made me think. And he said local people know what local problems need, or something like that. Local
Yes,
governments know what to do, and it's just
and
true.
that's very,
It's
very
true.
true.
And the reason why I don't understand he said that is because he never did anything to help that. He never did
Yes,
anything consequential at
he didn't do
least.
much of anything to be honest. But
Yeah, he was a very ineffective leader. I really didn't. I also just because he was
yeah,
everything.
he only increased the taxation in the first like few months of his.
Oh, don't get me. Andy Burnham.
Yeah,
Andy Burnham. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I am now because I don't like the Labour Party. I would say if I was in like a big political rivalry, I'd probably say I don't like him. But I think he's okay. I think he's better than Keir Starmer.
Yeah, lesser of
I'm more
two evils.
hopeful. Yeah, lesser two evils, exactly. That's a good question. Who would you vote for if you were in England? Because I don't know who I'd vote for. I have zero clue.
You see, the thing I hate so much is that Reform is using some of our points, our moderate and libertarian points, like freedom of speech, like Reform. At
Yeah,
least back last year, they were campaigning that freedom of speech is for all speech, no matter what,
yeah,
which I agree with, but the
yeah,
way they're using it is to garnish negative outcome because obviously Reform. We don't want them in the government, but they're gaining support because people who actually think about the problems we think about are like, yeah, actually, freedom of speech, that's a basic human right. Like, of course we have to support this. So hey, let me go support
That's a
restore. Let
good
me go
point.
support reform.
There is no political party for people like us, in the UK at least. I'd
Yes.
say that there, I have fought long and hard who I'd vote for. I, and if I was in England, I think I'd be forced to vote Liberal Democrats. But
Yes.
they do not matter. They are they are like they're I'd say they're Big Tent. You
They're
know that
there.
kind of.
They're the seat in
They they
parliament.
they just
That
they make opinions that aren't really, what's the word I'm looking for, they make a,
of like of consequence of any impact. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
and they say things so fat they can just get votes. Like I personally think they just don't care like at all about anything. I don't think they have any consequence to the world at all. Like, conservative maybe, but they're I don't trust them. Labour I hate.
Yeah. No. No. No.
Reform, restore I don't like. Green I hate. It. So if you're in England, I feel bad. In Scotland, I feel SNP, as you know.
Yeah.
I believe in independence. And that's because it's for two reasons. I believe that it will help us become a freer country in terms of we'll be able to have free speech again and restore our basic human rights because it's a smaller population. It's easier to convince a smaller population, and because I just believe that we'd be better off in terms of economically and creatively, like as in we can just do what we want. Like, so in terms of sovereignty, I guess that would be so.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but yeah, I don't know anything about Irish politics. I won't lie.
That's the
So I don't
thing.
know
That's
who I'd
the thing.
vote for.
Almost like every party in essence is center left. Center left.
Yeah, I
We
know
have the
that they're very. There's nothing. That's one good thing about Irish politics. They're pretty consistent and they're not that extremist.
yes. Yes. That is true. Fine Gael, you could argue they're slightly center right, but again, their policies often drift towards the left. We have Social Democrats, that's again center left, and Sinn Féin, there you go again, center left. Now, the difference is we've had a coalition government for quite a long time, not anymore, but like going back a few years.
Mm-hmm.
I think they won, I can't tell you now without lying to you, but they were there consistently. We had a coalition of the Green Party, Fine
Mm-hmm.
Gael, and Fianna Fáil.
Yeah.
Again, each party agrees on center left views, which in theory, that's perfect. You can get so much done. You can fix the country, you can get so much going. But no, there's still a housing crisis after what? How long has it been? Like 18 years? There's still even social inequality, I'm sad to say. And you see all of this with a government with center left views who in theory shouldn't argue, shouldn't, fight, should get together and work for the common good of the nation. But no, there was still so much turmoil. But you can look up videos of the Irish uh, House of Parliament, all the fighting, all the needless arguments, and just focusing their attention on stuff that just does not matter. Like you said, local community knows best what the community needs, and the centralized government can't that's one thing I like about Ireland. All the communities, all the different, I don't want to say villages, but all the different like communities. Yeah, they're small enough. We don't have massive cities except the capital city, Dublin. And every town, every village, every city has its own community, has its own, I don't want to say way of life, but like, it has that difference to them that's unique and that's nice.
Oh,
And a top-down government from Dublin can't accurately tell that community like this and this is what you need.
yeah.
Implement this right now. You have to do this. They
It's
can do that.
it's a
Like, yes, we need a centralized government to fix massive nationwide problems. Like, for example, I believe the government should tackle housing, should tackle bigger problems like immigration. We do need a centralized government for bigger issues. But like you said, for smaller communities, we need localized government for that. So, going back to what we would support if we were forced to choose, like you said, there's no party for us what we
yeah.
support, but Ah, this is a funny question because I don't like the Social Democrats, but
You would support
out
them.
of everything,
Yeah.
I like half of their ideas. Half are good, half are a shit if I could express myself in such a way. I'm sorry.
I
But I believe if we get the stuff going, we need a baseline, obviously, because like you're a hardcore libertarian. You're very
pretty
hard center.
hardcore. Would you say I'm pretty
Yes.
hardcore? Would you? I'd say I'm pretty
It's so funny
moderate as a
saying
libertarian.
saying hardcore moderate because hardcore and moderates are like are not compatible, but
I
in our world today,
you know
being
what I
moderate is
call
hardcore.
myself? I call myself third positionist to distinguish myself. I don't feel like I'm left or
Yes.
right. I have very mixed views. I always do those political compass tests, and it usually puts me like right wing somewhere, and then like
Oh.
libertarian somewhere. Not like super right, generally centre
Yeah,
right,
yeah, like
quite
yeah.
soft right, but I personally think I'm third positionist. Now, most people, if you're certainly if you're left wing, I think you'd call me right wing. I'm almost certain. I have to them I'd be right wing, but to most
Oh
right
yes, I get
wingers,
called fascist.
yeah, I mean to
It's
most
funny because hard left wingers call me far right, but far right people call me too left wing. So you
it
see,
is
there's
quite
no
funny. It is.
yeah,
In
it is.
reality, I like to joke around, but I personally think you're pretty much centre left, if anything, or centre. I don't
Yes,
think
that's where
you're.
I see myself.
I see you're pretty centre left. I don't. I think it's very disingenuous of people to try to paint you as like this kind of like super extremist, but like that's a whole other debate. If extremism should be allowed in our society, that's just
Yeah.
I've always been completely fine with it. I think Nazism and all that should be perfectly valid to be talked about in our day to day life. Not oh that
Yeah,
sounds
talked
bad.
about yes, but not like passed into law. We don't need another.
Yeah, we don't need Nazism. That's the point of free speech though, to let them talk. And I think
Yes,
by
you
letting
can't
them
stifle out ideas.
yeah,
Yes.
you can't just silence them. It's like when the Catholic Church tried to silence like Lutheranism, and like this quite a I know a contentious topic, but
Yeah, we're going back, way
the
back.
Catholic Church basically tried to silence. Look at Charles V of Spain and and the HRE. Like he basically, I remember, didn't he try to invite Martin Luther King to a trial or
Yes,
something?
he invited
And
him first to a discussion, the diet of worms,
yeah,
to talk with him, to try and get him to convince him to, back down. Then after he left, he ordered the Edict of Worms, which was basically, okay, I don't like him, go arrest him.
yeah, and
But
his
they never caught him,
and then there
thankfully.
was this thing called the Reformation, which like changed Christianity forever. Like
Yes.
there was Lutheranism, there's Calvinism, there's Baptist and all this shit. Um, I'm not even a religious guy, but like I think it's quite interesting because they did try to stifle the idea, right? The Catholic Church at least they tried to stop it from spreading, and then it just went out of control.
Yeah.
It was this huge thing, and I'd say personally I think it was quite a better thing because it allowed less centralization in the church, which also allowed for a decentralized church system and allowed people to be more free, and I think it eventually led to like a more modern time at least. I'm not saying it's the only thing. There was guilds as well, but that's totally off topic.
Yeah, there's many
Yeah,
factors, many
yeah.
factors,
There's
yeah.
many factors. I also
But again,
think
the
medieval
baseline is
guilds. Yeah,
they tried to stomp out
yeah,
even the mere idea of having anything different to their system,
yeah.
which
And
led to
I ironically think if the Catholic Church didn't do it, I think the Catholic Church would be much stronger today, and I think it would still be more unified as one organization. I think, but by silencing it, I think they made the as they would put it, the heretics split off from the church entirely and made their own independent churches. But I don't want to get into that debate. That's not
yeah.
really that important. So, would you describe yourself as a social democrat then? I'm just
Not in the sense I really hate the social democratic version of taxation.
me too.
Take the Scandinavian model, the Scandinavian model of social democracy.
I
Like
know.
everyone uses it. They all say like, "Wow, look at Denmark, look at
This
Sweden,
is the perfect
perfect
world.
state, free transport, free education, free everything. Oh my God, it's so beautiful." 40, what was it? 45% income tax.
And
baseline,
that's
not
just
even
income.
at
That's just
least
income
here.
tax.
Yes,
So
just
general
income
tax. Let's
tax.
just say it's 50% to be fair, to be nice. Okay,
Yes,
half your income gone.
like including
Okay,
everything.
okay, sure. You get a ton of benefits. Like, oh yeah, we get
Yes,
healthcare,
you
we
get
get
free stuff,
childcare.
whatever. And you see,
But
that's why they get praised because of these amazing services. But I believe that these same services can be provided for even in our countries with less expenditure, less taxation. We don't need millions and millions and millions, literally half of everybody's income in
yeah,
a given country to be spent on service. We don't need
yeah,
all of this money. We can reallocate it more efficiently, I certainly believe. And if not, like I don't see a problem with, paying for transportation, for example, if it's like obviously the consumer isn't paying 100% of the fees, for example, your bus service where you live, okay? It's also subsidized by the government. Naturally, it's a state service, the national transport, yes. But if we say increase that subsidy and we give different rates to different people, less expenditure for the consumer, like you don't have to front the whole bill yourself. But that's what I'm saying. You don't need everything to be paid for.
by the consumer. This actually brings me up into capitalism, communism, and this I think is really fascinating. I have thought about this for so long. I do not like communism. Very ardently against it. I
Yes,
would call myself
naturally.
a capitalist, but I have found a new one, and this is actually what we talk about. We talk about capitalism being for, you
The
know,
small player, not the
the
big
small player. Yeah,
corporation,
we
like the
tax.
individual. Yes,
Yes, and I actually I don't know if you
yes. We
know
talked about
this.
this.
I support
Yes.
unions. I actually quite a big fan of unions. I think worker
Oh, very
unions.
good, very good.
I'm one of the.
Yes,
I think they're one of the strongest ways to enact this, but
yes.
it's called distributism, um, and it
Okay,
actually I
please
had never
enlighten
heard
me.
of it. This was very new, and it's
Neither have
basically
I.
what we said: widespread property. So as many people should own land, homes, tools to ensure personal independence. Small
Yes,
businesses, so family farms, local shops, worker owned cooperatives over massive monopolies, so check. Matters should be
yes,
handled by smallest, lowest, and most local authority rather than centralised national bodies, so another check. And
yes.
this
Okay,
is, I
okay.
don't really agree with this, but they feel that autonomous household is the fundamental building block of a stable society. So basically, families. They suffuse families,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's always one caveat. There's never anything that's
but
perfectly what we.
that's not like ingrained into it, right? It
Yeah, no, no, no. The main idea is, like you said,
low scale.
widespread
I call it
property.
low scale capitalism, but we have a new name now, distributism.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not a fully formalized economic system because I think it's just not popular. And I know a lot about politics. I had never heard of it until
Yeah,
recently,
me neither. I've never
and
heard of this.
and it seems like it perfectly fits what we believe in. It seems to me that that seems to be the economic system that humanity needs to move towards to. And we used to have this. I think we used to call distributism capitalism.
Yes,
What
because that was the foundation. Like you said yourself, Adam Smith did not imagine our modern world with all of these
he did,
supermassive
yeah,
corporations.
he did
He
it,
was
yeah.
basing it on the individual.
He thought when we were talking about factories, as it were. I think he envisioned. You talk about specialization, right? You've talked about this
Yes,
before,
I gave you that example.
and
Yes.
each man does one task well, and it increases the
Increases
efficiency.
output in the overall.
And the important
Yes.
distinguishment was he was talking about each man and not about a factory. He was talking about a chain of workers rather than an assembly line. Very big distinction.
Yes, yes.
We just made the assembly line. So the I think the question is now we know what we want. How do we get there? That's a very hard question, and
Yes, that is true. And
it's
that
an
is where we slightly diverge because, like I said, funnily enough, you are a hardline liberal. It's just funny because hardline and liberalism doesn't coincide. But
yeah.
yes, in our world today, being a
It's quite
libertarian,
yeah. It's quite
it is quite extremist, funny enough. But
it
again,
is it is.
that's where my social aspect comes into play because I believe we need a step by step by step not plan, I would say, but like, you know, small changes, step by step. Like, we can't have,
I
and again, this goes
disagree.
into my previous example. Like, if we change our world tomorrow to be our version, your version of a utopia, a perfect society, there will be bloodshed, there will be mass
Yeah.
hysteria, anger, even. Like, again, I believe, I don't want to say I don't support revolution. I do like a nice revolution here and there.
Yeah.
But, for example, the American Revolution,
But
this,
you should try avoid a revolution as much as possible. I support revolution. I support it when it needs
yes,
to be
when it
done.
is
When
just,
it is
that is
needed.
true. When it needs to be done, I do
Yes.
support revolution. But I also do believe that every revolution will bring forth, harm and wrongdoing. Like in my example, the
Dictators.
American
Yeah.
Revolution.
Dictators.
Yes, you're rising up against the tyranny of the King of England, the King George, this awful tyranny. You're rising up. You're instilling this new concept. This is literally the birth of liberty, the birth of democracy as a
Yeah,
nation
modern.
state,
Modern,
democracy,
yeah.
modern democracy, the
Yeah.
birth of modern democracy. Yes, so fantastic. There was this revolution. They won their freedom. Perfect, beautiful, amazing. But again, they left laws, policies open to interpretation, open for debate.
That's
The
true.
big question, of course, back then was slavery.
Mm.
How can you build a nation where you enshrine individual liberty,
On inequality.
say all
Yeah.
men are created equal, but still pursue the enterprise of slavery?
It, I mean, if I was around back then, there were obviously abolitionists within the government. I think we all know that.
Oh, yeah,
It
of course.
was, I, I think it was. I think they were just. Honestly, I feel like they were. Yeah, they were probably in the same shoes as us. To be honest, I'll be honest. I think they were
Yes.
probably wondering the same thing as us and thinking, okay, we kind of need to make. But that's where I disagree. You say small incremental changes, but what they required was a big leap forward. Not to quote Mao Zedong, right?
It's a great
But
leap forward. Yeah.
not to quote him. Not we're not saying that.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not supporting cultural genocide. Okay, we are. Okay, let's chill. Let's chill. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Let's not do that.
but
Okay.
like what I'm saying is, I think to us to get distributism, it's gonna need major change. If you go slowly, I just don't see it happening in our lifetime. I
Yes, you
just
do make a good point. Like, for example, in my case, where I argue slavery, like, who was the instigator of this radical change? John Brown. What did he do? He staged a slave insurrection in Harper's Ferry, an armed insurrection, and that got the wheels moving towards emancipation.
and he did a great job. And
Again, with the civil rights movement, even in not our times, but like recent history, the civil rights movement in America, how was that started? Well, not okay. I'm not going to say started, but how's that propped up by Malcolm X, the Black Panther movement, which was an armed militant wing of the civil rights movement. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, you do make a good point, which I am all for that. I do believe we do need a great instigator
yeah.
of this great change, but I'm arguing when this great change comes about, when we do have this great change. If it's too sudden, too rapid, then we will have too many questions up for debate to be all solved at
See,
once. Which,
that's a
okay,
good point.
if we have a good, okay, this is gonna sound bad. If we have a good authority, which we're the thing we're fighting against authority,
Okay.
okay, I'm not gonna use authority. If we have a good leadership, I guess you could say, a good way to resolve these issues, then yeah, perfect. We can tackle them one by one
Yeah.
rapidly. That'll be fine. But if you take history as an example, it's very rare that you see all problems get solved by one rapid change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that. But I think history works in rhymes, not in patterns. Oh, well, yeah,
Yes, history often rhymes.
yeah,
Doesn't repeat
yeah. That's
rhymes.
it. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I said this. I think the main thing we have to ask ourselves is how do we stop the concentration of power when we take power? Okay, that sounded bad. When we win an election and when we
Yes,
win when we become leaders. There we go.
yes, and
Um,
here comes your version of a naturalized community and localized government. We spread out the power so
much.
thinly that
Yeah.
it's impossible for one person to centralize their authority on everything.
I that's why I support decentralization of the state. I think we have the technology as well, right, to be decentralized now. We have instant communication to be able to do that. I think it's just not only is it viable, I think we would thrive if we decentralize the
Yes.
government.
Actually, I never asked you. We argue that bureaucracy is the great evil of our time, but in our perfect world, or your perfect view of society, yeah, we have these different levels of government: the local
Yeah,
community,
I
the like
believe there
the
should be
county,
like
state,
local,
central, whatever.
state, national, something like
Yes,
that.
and then if this, not the state, but like the centralized authority in the capital or wherever you see it
Yeah,
fit, wants to instigate change in, for example, a local community, that will breed more bureaucracy because they will have to get through all these layers of government if they want to even have the possibility of change that they see fit.
I
How do
see.
you see yourself working around that problem?
That's tough. I'll be honest. I don't know. Local government. We agree that local governments know how to handle local issues, and then
Yes, obviously.
appropriate level of government for the appropriate issue, right? So in our society, we have multiple levels of government. With let's just for now, we'll say there's local,
Yeah, with
state,
varying
and federal.
authority.
Yeah,
Like,
varying authority.
yeah.
Um, but I also think it's important we have to stop lobbying and corruption within our government. You said that for a change to happen, you need good leadership. But this is part of the reason why the government should be structured this way. It's to stop the accumulation of power for first most, but it's also to stop people from buying power. I'm talking about corporations and from lobbying
Yes,
people.
yes.
If you
Of
have
course.
so many people, representatives, I'm talking about, so people who are elected. If you have so many elected representatives, it's going to be impossible to buy them all out because no one's going to take a bribe for a small amount because it's not worth it. And if you give a large amount to everyone, well, not everyone, but enough to buy
Well,
the
then that's
majority, then you
just
don't have enough money,
not
or
viable, yeah.
you're spending too much money. So that's part of the reason why I believe that system of government helps us. Now it does allow more wiggle room. It's also, I do not like current British. If you try to, if you've ever checked it out, if you try to get into government, like as in to become run for election, it's very hard to
Oh,
do
yes,
in
it
the UK.
takes so long, first
You're,
of all, and then it's so difficult.
it's
They
really
actively, you don't see it, but they actively discourage new people from entering politics, from
politics.
entering government.
100%,
Yeah.
man, 100%. And that's what, and I've always been anti-establishment, and that's what I'm talking about right there. They are they are discouraging people from running for government, and it's all under the guise, right? It's all under the guise of being like, oh, it's so you're not bought out by foreign money, so we're not getting foreign actors in our politics. It's a lie. Okay, it's they're okay. Maybe China and Russia. Okay, yes, they are harmful state actors who want to influence our politics. But you also cannot just ignore the people and ignore and just say, okay, that's a good enough reason you can't be running elections now. You have to find an alternative. Like they're super hard to run. I brought it up to you one time. If you look at the form, it's ridiculous. There's like 50 pages you have to fill out. And I personally believe, at least for local election, you should be able to basically, essentially, maybe like one form, but walk up and be able to run for election, basically. I just, I feel that it's very hard to run for election. It also makes, and it's part of the reason why so many people feel disenfranchised in the UK and in the West in general, right? Because democracy, right now we use representative democracy. I think we should use delegate democracy, where it's slightly different, where we say, okay, this guy is one of us, we're going to send him up, but we can always take him down. We can always
Yes, I see
pull him
what you
back,
mean.
like say, we can always vote him out, but with a bigger majority. Personally, I'd say 2/3, it would be more appropriate to, not impeach, but to make them stand down and for a new election to be held. But that's a bit different. What was the original question again? I
It's
forgot.
actually quite funny that you say that because the a good example of this is the Soviet Union, actually. If we talk about the localized
Yeah.
governments, not governments, but like the central committees of each like
State.
province,
Yeah.
village, state, whatever, city,
Soviet. Yeah. Okay.
the people obviously had one party to vote for, the Communist Party. They could only vote for that, but they could vote for representatives of that party. And if he, she, they, whatever, were ineffective, well, of course, they voted them out the next
Yeah.
time they ran. So that encouraged them to be effective, which is funny because the best example of this was in a totalitarian state.
Yeah, that is quite ironic because I also suppose because you're running all under one party, you're not being stuck by party lines anymore. So you have to be an
Yes, that
individual
is
to stand
true.
up. That's also I don't like party politics. I think they are. I know
Yeah, no,
George
neither.
Washington talked
That's one
about
thing I
this,
do
and
like about my country of Ireland. There are so many independent candidates
I
who are not
agree.
associated to a given party. Yes.
And it's also why I think the executive should be voted separately because parliaments encourage. Some see this as a benefit, but I mainly see it as a bad thing because parliaments encourage parties, right? Because you need a majority to win in the parliament. You need a majority of seats. That's what I'm trying to say. So either you have to build a coalition or you have to have a really big party. And the thing I just don't like about that is because the executive, it should just be simply, in my opinion, it should just simply be a vote on whether on an individual person. So in it actually, parliaments disencourage independence, especially in the UK. I don't know about Ireland. Is Ireland uses a parliament, right? Yeah.
Yes, that was one thing I was going to say to you, but no, finish your thing first.
No, that was it. That was it. That was
Oh,
basically
okay,
it.
fair enough. Yes, what was I going to say to you? Yes, talking about Parliament, obviously in the UK you have the House of Commons and the House of Lords.
Yes.
Uh, I'm
True.
sorry if I'm a bit misinformed, but the House of Lords is for the, I don't want to say aristocracy, but like
Basically, yeah. Basically.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like in Ireland at least we have the Dáil, the Parliament, and the Senate, which is the House of Lords for your equivalent. So there in the Senate we have the presidents of universities, the leaders of like
Basically influential
uh
people in our
yes,
society.
influential people. Yes,
Um,
that is what I'm
which
going to say.
ironically gives them more influence, and we're giving average people less influence. Like what?
Yes,
Like
that is one thing I do not support at all. What is your take on that?
it's terrible. It's because we're looking. They. I hate this by the way because modern leaders nowadays will say, "Oh, the electorate are feeling left out and they're feeling disenfranchised," whilst they're simultaneously letting the already influential a president of a university now he becomes a lord as well. Like that's just
Yes,
you're
the
not
intellectuals of a society are given
and you're
more
also
power.
giving
I don't know
more
how it is
you're
with
giving more
your
credence to
house.
the right wing by the way by putting
Yeah,
intellectuals in government because you're going to give them
yes.
more fuel because they won't like that
And one thing, I think there's a petition ongoing actually to change this in Ireland. I don't know how it is in the
oh, that's
UK for
good.
your House of Lords, but for our Senate, based on the prestige and the size of, for example, your university or your hospital or your enterprise, whatever, based on the size of it, that's the amount of seats you're given
Oh really, you
in
get
the Senate. Yes. So, for example, Trinity College in Dublin has, I think, 5 seats in the Senate, while like Galway University or wherever has like one or two.
that's crazy, that's really bad
Yeah.
you just it's so weird because like why should universities in the first place have power in the
Because
government.
again, seemingly, this is what I hate. Where if you look at it on the surface level, you're like, oh, okay, you lead a university, you're a smart person. Yes, you make good choices.
Yeah,
Please speak for me, speak for the people. So
but
yeah, it's easy for normal people to see all of this. What I don't understand is that people like to compare nowadays to the time of pre-revolutionary France, like all of this Versailles disparity, the gaps in wealth. If you look at charts, the gaps in wealth are the same nowadays than it was in the times before the revolution in France.
okay.
And when you scroll on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, you see people going to Versailles, the palace in Versailles, saying that, oh my God, look at this wealth, look at all of this wealth. Or like St. Petersburg in Russia, the palaces, the wealth. They're like, oh, look at
It's
this.
so beautiful.
It's obvious that people no, no, no. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
amazing. No, they're saying like it's obvious how people rebelled against this, like seeing all of this wealth. But like when you think of it, the peasant in France living in rural nowhere in France never saw Versailles. They never saw the
That's
wealth
true.
in
That's
person.
true,
They
actually.
never saw the power that these people, they never knew the true scale of the power these people had.
That's a really good
In
point,
our modern
actually.
world, in our modern world, we see the power these people hold. We see the wealth,
And we don't
we see
get
the influence,
angry.
we see the wealth, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that's yeah, that's life. Perfect, no problem. Yeah, cool.
That's a good point. I never thought about
Yeah,
that.
I thought about this recently actually. Like the peasant in Russia never
Didn't
saw the wealth in St.
Yeah,
Petersburg
the
or in
average
Moscow, the
peasant at
golden
least.
domes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. And still they rebelled and brought forth change. We
It,
nowadays we see everything. We know. We have independent journalism who give us on a silver dish the scandals and the corruption in our governments. And we're like, oh, okay, cool.
That's a good point. Maybe in the past, people just had more guts. Like, and I also reckon it's something to do with you have less to lose, right? I guess
Yeah,
you
and
do
plus
have
I
less to
guess if
lose
we
back
were
then.
like our generation, we were raised in this society, this
Oh,
world,
this is a
and we're
great
like, we're
point.
just used to it.
I agree with this. I feel like we're super used to modern social democracy. In fact, we haven't really properly questioned what life was without it. Like, we haven't seen it.
Yes, yes,
Well, no
yes.
one has currently alive. No one is currently alive has seen the world before, let's say, 1900. You know, no one has seen
Yes,
what
that
small
era, that
farms and artisan communities can do for capitalism, which is beneficial, undoubtedly. Like and this idea of distributism is really, I really love it. I thought it was so nice to see someone who had on the same page, as it were, because I think we need, if we are going to enact this change, the Great Leap. I won't call it. I have to
the great,
I have to find a
the
name for
second
it.
leap forward, the
Yeah,
second
the
leap forward.
second leap forward. No, it's very bad stuff. It's bad
Yeah.
connotation.
Anyways, yeah, yeah.
If we are going to do it, I think first of all we empower worker unions. I think worker unions are really important, and I also think the
You're a
government.
communist.
Oh no, oh no.
No, I support unions as
I
well.
support.
I do believe that.
I don't think they're inherently communist. Though, personally, I feel like they're
No, they're not. They're not. They're
inherently.
like our views are of communities. They're a naturalized community
Yeah.
of
Well,
workers of a
I,
given field.
I don't know if the listener knows what a naturalized community is. We haven't
Ah,
really
yes.
introduced
Sorry,
it. So
sorry. We
it's
haven't discussed that
a
here.
naturalized community. Okay, for example, a school community where there's normally 4 houses in a school, in the UK at least. I don't, is it in Ireland as well? Just out of curiosity. So like different, you have different like
Uh,
houses or teams or whatever.
yes, yes, we do have
Yeah,
that. Yes, yes. Houses.
they're trying to make a sense of community and it's fake, right? It's obviously no one genuinely feels like, oh, I'm actually part of fucking Dumbledore in my school. Haha, I'm great. I got all my friends. No, it's a lie. They just make the reason why they do that as well is to on paper they can be like, hey, we're trying to encourage the kids to be friends. You know, like we're really nice
Yes,
people.
it breeds community, it breeds team spirit,
Yeah,
hard work,
it
whatever,
breeds
la la la.
teamwork and cooperation, and we're gonna be great. No, no, it doesn't do any of those things. Don't lie. You know, it's fake news. Okay, fake
And you
news.
see, this is a very good example because when people say, "But hey, doesn't the government breed community like different cities, different whatever? Doesn't that breed community?" But no, that's the exact same example as the school giving
Yeah,
you the made-up Dumbledore houses.
there used to
The
be
government
at least.
authority can't breed community.
Yeah, exactly. 200 years ago in the 1800s, there were millions of communities. Religious communities, like villages, so geographical communities who you lived beside, because you lived in a village back then. You didn't live in big cities. Also,
Yeah, yeah,
we'll touch on crime in a second, and then
yeah.
and
Okay.
we'll and you know you had all these different you had Freemasonry, which isn't as big as a thing anymore. You know, I'm struggling now to think of them for some reason. And worker
You know,
communities,
the guilds, for
guilds,
example, the
yeah, the guilds.
guilds.
That's a really
Yes.
good example, actually. People working together as work in guilds to, and this was also guilds were really beneficial because it also meant you had to do a certain level of work. It ensured quality control, as it were, in the medieval world. You know, that was quality control back then, and making sure everything's fine and we're all
Yes. How
happy.
did you become a master?
Yeah, a
By
masterpiece, and this,
making a masterpiece,
and
literally a
you used to
masterpiece.
be
That's
a
where the name
called,
comes from.
you used to be called a bachelor before,
Yes.
so that's where
Before and
all
then
the
master
first
when you make
certificates came from a medieval
master
guild.
degree and
Yeah,
master's degree.
it's
Yes.
actually really fascinating how guilds impacted us. But anyway, it also brings up,
Yes.
so there's a difference between a natural community and a forced community, and the government loves making forced communities, which are not real communities. They don't matter. People will not genuinely help each other. And in a natural community, a family is one of those. A family is a natural community, a very small one, like minuscule. But we want to build bigger natural communities, me and you, right? We want to build ones that are impactful, where there's more
Yes, and
people.
meaningful.
Meaningful, exactly. So the way to do that is not by having the government with a sledgehammer say, your village is gone, let's build a city here. No, cities actively discourage naturalized communities. Now there are exceptions. I'll look at New York, like there's the Italian side, the Cuban side, but when people think about like old New York, they generally think about the communities that used to be in New York. You know, like people generally see that as quite a beneficial thing. I think like that was generally quite good because it kept the social harmony as it was. But nowadays we don't have that, and I think a lot of people are struggling without a community.
Yes,
Um,
that was my point. People nowadays are too focused. I don't say too focused on equality. The name equality, you hear it everywhere.
yeah,
We need
yeah,
equal this, equal that, which that is perfect. I support that. Beautiful. We need to have equal rights for every human on this earth.
yeah,
Yes, perfect. But I think the modern meaning, I mean, interpretation of the word equality means, hey, I'm a human, you're a human. I don't care about you. Why should you care about me?
yeah,
You know that sense.
yeah. And
I even myself, I'm ashamed to say, I also fell victim to this because where I live in Ireland, there was a fire in my city. I saw it online. I was scrolling, I think Instagram. I was like, oh, there's a fire. There was a fire. Okay, fine, whatever. Don't really care that much. Then later, my family told me that the people who were affected by that fire are moved in close to us, close to our house. And only then I realized, wow, these people are humans
yeah,
living in my city, in my community. Only then I realized, wow, we have to start caring more about people. But okay, back to my point of equality.
yeah.
People are too focused on, let's say, the gender pay gap or workplace discrimination based on race, religion, whatever, whatever. People, okay, that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Not whatever, whatever.
No,
That's a
no,
big
no.
problem in
You're right.
today's
You're right.
world.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yes, but people are too focused on equality in the sense that, hey, we're all in the same boat. We're all humans. Hey, I don't care about you. You do what you like. I don't care what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We need community though. It's just such an intrinsic part of humanity.
Yes, I feel like this modern equality doesn't breed community. It breeds like kind of,
Indifference.
I don't want to say separation, indifference. That's the
Yeah.
word,
It
indifference.
it does. I support equality of opportunity most foremost personally. I think
Yes,
equal
that ties
rights,
into
equal
what was that view of
education,
capitalism? Distributism, yes.
yeah, and I think we need equal opportunity. That's something I think the government could be quite good at. Equal opportunity, ensuring everyone has that level of access.
Yes, government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing is, we need naturalized community. And this starts my crime debate. A lot of people like to say crime is because of poverty. Partly, yes, crime is due to poverty, but people were also poor in the 1600s and 1500s, and we just didn't see this level of crime of like killing people. You know, like there were murderers, yes, and some of them are undocumented murderers, yes. But I genuinely did not think that there were as many murderers then than there are now. I think there are more now, and that's to
Yes, and not just murders, like high-level robberies, armed
yeah,
robbery, crime, theft, burglary.
yeah, big,
Like, you never imagine in the 1600s breaking into your neighbor's house and stealing all of their belongings.
yeah,
Or like even in your village, not your neighbor. Somebody in the village broke into somebody's house and stole all their belongings.
yeah. You would be. It would be also you probably get found out quite quickly, but also you just
Yes.
wouldn't want to do it. And this is an important point. Crime doesn't happen because of poverty and like social status. It happens because of anonymity, and you don't know the other person. That's why
Yes,
you would
perfect. Like you give
never.
example,
Yeah,
would you rob your barber? Would
yeah.
you rob your teacher?
Would you rob
Would you
your
rob
neighbor?
your shopkeeper?
Exactly.
Your
You
neighbor? Yeah.
wouldn't. You wouldn't rob your barber. You
No.
wouldn't rob someone you knew because you'd think it's wrong. So by building naturalized communities, we remove anonymity. And we lower crime. I genuinely think if we build communities, real communities, meaningful communities, there will be far less crime in our
Yes,
society.
but interestingly enough, I gave this exact example to my friend. We were debating this
Ah,
together, and I gave him the example like, would you rob your teacher? Would you rob your neighbor?
what
Would
did
you
he
rob
say?
whoever? And he was saying like, yeah, okay, fair enough, Samuel, but people will still commit crimes just for the sake of committing crime, for the thrill of it, the accelerating feeling of committing
Some
crime.
people. Some people, but not all.
Yes, and that ties into our view as well. Like, yes, there will still be a crime, of course. There will still be murder,
Yeah,
of
I'm not
course.
saying they will get rid of all most crime. I'm saying
Yes,
it's
like
going to
on
get rid of
Scottish
a
News,
good
you were saying
amount.
recently a man murdered his
9-year
daughter.
old
Like,
daughter.
yes, that
That's
will
not.
happen.
Yeah,
That will
that's
happen sadly and tragically, of course, but that will still happen.
yeah,
But like, you don't. This isn't a common occurrence. Most murders, most crimes are made by people, by strangers, like you said, who
yeah.
don't know each other, who don't care for each
There's
other.
a reason why we talk about crimes of passion in the media so widely because it's so unusual. You don't. Most people don't murder their neighbor. They murder someone they don't know, someone they're doing a deal with, a drug deal gone wrong type thing. It just doesn't happen. And it's fantasy to pretend like that's one thing I don't get why people say crime is because of poverty because yes it has an influence but I don't think it's the main influence. I think it's anonymity personally that causes most crime and poverty in addition because they're encouraged to
Yes,
steal.
and the feeling of hopelessness and like
Yeah,
marginalization, being left
yeah,
to fend for yourself. There's no support,
yeah.
be it
There's no
from a
such.
community, like a local
Yeah,
community,
yeah.
or from the government, for
Communities
example,
give
with
you
the.
purpose. Communities give you purpose in life.
Not only that, they support you. Like
Mm,
back when Adam Smith was giving his examples, he was saying how a community works on the work from the baker supports the work of the
the
doctor,
yeah,
supports the work of the school teacher, supports the work of the shopkeeper and the farmer
and the
and
miller.
whoever
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Yes, they all support each other.
Yeah, they're individuals, but they work in a
Community.
community bond, a cohesive bond. That's what I was gonna say. I
Yeah, and if you yourself feel that you're not part of a community or serve any purpose in this society,
It's easier to act
added
out.
to
Yeah,
that added to poverty, and that added to the sense of, hey, I don't know any of these people who live in my city. Why should I care if I rob somebody? Why should I care
yeah.
if I shoot somebody?
You can act out a
All of that
lot
tied
easier.
together, yes.
That's a good point. Yeah, I personally don't think poverty by itself will cause crime, but some crime, yeah. But I think if we do build natural communities, crime will go down quite a good margin. I think I'd say at least 20%, thirty
Yes, but you
percent.
say we build natural communities, we build, but like, how do we start this? Like, we can't have the government telling people, okay,
Yeah, I
you're part
know.
of this community,
I thought
go be
about that.
friends.
I think governments should do halfsies with people. I was thinking government should organize.
Encouraged. I wouldn't
Yeah,
say organized, because that sounds a bit forceful, like
yeah. I was going to talk about
putting people
credit
into one
unions.
one area.
I think if we're going to stop global banks, I also think they're quite scared. But if we're going to build like credit unions and mutual unions between, so people can make banks of their own, I think the government should give them a stake of money in it, and they should help them organize it at first, and then let people buy a stake in the company and in the union, the credit union, and so people have their own bank, independent of the government and of private corporations.
Yes, that would be good, but that will never happen, I'm sorry to say.
I know the
Banks have got, at least the Irish government, the Irish government still, the government of Ireland pays banks money because they bailed the state out during the global recession.
doesn't
Now
surprise
banks
me.
operate
Mm.
basically tax-free, and the government still pays out lump sums of money for the bailout back in 2008,
Yeah,
2007.
I also think just taxing corporations and big business will help build natural communities, smaller communities, and smaller businesses as well, like supporting entrepreneurs and all this. Just taxing them, big companies, discouraging them in the country, trying to get.
Yes, Ireland still has the lowest corporation tax out of all of Europe by like, I think like 5% is the next lowest.
Mm,
Where is it? I think France is the second lowest. It has like 16% corporation tax. We have 12.5%. So if we even increase it by 1% or 1.5%, our corporation tax, we will generate so much income
this is
for the state.
one of the few things where I think tax is quite beneficial. I'm personally more about 20% actually for corporations. I think quite a big portion of their money should be taken away. I don't see corporations being beneficial at all for
Yes,
people.
they're not, they're not.
I They are good at
Well, okay, what
the
people argue in Ireland, at least, what the government argues, politicians argue, like, oh,
yeah
we have to keep the tax low because we have to encourage them to stay, all these foreign companies to stay in Ireland, to
yeah
generate employment, to pay their taxes, to build infrastructure for their company, like
yeah
funding public transport. I mean, not funding, but like encouraging.
yeah
Like, if there's a massive company down the road, like there'll be a bus link or rail link, whatever. So encouraging development of infrastructure, that's their argument. But the way I see it is, okay, fine, you make a good point. But if you raise it by a few percent, we will not only still have the lowest corporation tax in all of Europe, but Ireland is an English-speaking country, one. We have an educated population, two. And we're a member of the European Union, three. So free trade. We have so many benefits for these corporations to stay in Ireland, regardless of the taxation itself,
I
that when we raise it, and we should raise it, I believe, that not only will they stay and they will stay happily because all of these given benefits to them, like English speaking, uh, low taxation, and the free trade between all of Europe, for the most part, except you guys in the UK.
I think small and medium business would take over anyway if they left. I'm not really too concerned if they leave. I think individuals and businesses will naturally come out of the what's it the bookworm. What no, some phrase. I'm trying to think of a phrase, but they're gonna come out and they're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna come out and fill this the blanks as it were. They're gonna fill it anyway. In my opinion.
Yes, yes, and that's true. And also, one more point I'm going to make before I let you speak, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
is that people, especially in Ireland, before all these big, massive corporations came in, like Ireland was undertaking a policy of trade protectionism. It wouldn't trade with outside countries. It wouldn't engage with the international market. I'm not sure
Yes,
about the UK
I'm not sure
before all
either.
of your big corporations came in from further Europe and the Americas. But in Ireland, at least, like people only know of a time. They look back at history and say, "Oh, before these corporations came in, Ireland was so poor, so underdeveloped, so rural, so agrarian, so just terrible."
Yeah,
But the only, I would say, version of capitalism now that we know is this massive corporations, foreign corporations coming in, millions and millions and billions, I would say. Actually, yes, billions of euros coming in. That is the only version that people know of.
and they
They
don't
only have
benefit
two
people's
versions.
lives really. Not
They only
that
see
well.
Ireland before the corporations of trade protectionism and
Yeah,
deep poverty, and the Ireland nowadays of having big, massive corporations everywhere.
it's also why I
So
believe.
they don't see an in between. They don't see the small
Yeah,
corporation. They don't see the small business or the middle, the
yeah,
medium
exactly,
business like you
exactly.
talk of.
Yeah, well, we need to lower taxation on them. I think they're really struggling. Isn't it like I can't remember, but most restaurants fail.
It's something crazy. It's something
Most
crazy.
don't most restaurants fail for a reason. Like independent restaurants,
Yes.
and it's crazy that they fail whilst franchises are popping up everywhere. It's so
And that is not even
humiliating.
half the problem. The main problem is that they have so much competition from these massive big franchise corporations that if you were to start like your own grocery store, your own shop today,
Mm-hmm.
like how could you compete with Tesco? How do you compete with Aldi, with
Yeah,
Lidl,
it's
with whatever?
impossible. It's
Yes,
not.
and not only that, the government will still tax you. I don't want to say more, but actually, yeah, I think it's more in Ireland. They will tax you more for being a private individual company, like a low or middle
Yeah,
company,
yeah, yeah,
than the
yeah.
massive franchises.
But there's also the cost of right. All these big corporations. They have lawyers. They have people specialized in everything, right? While small
Yes,
businesses, they can't do that. They only have like 30 employees. They have to pay a lawyer.
yes,
They don't
yes.
have a lawyer on retainer ready on the go. They have to pay one.
Yeah, no,
And
they don't have a guy on call up like, hey, come defend me in court.
yeah, this is such a big issue. I think businesses, small business at least, should definitely get near. I'm not saying 0% tax. Maybe 0% tax. I don't know. I'm really conflated on this. If they make a profit, I think they should be taxed. If they don't make a profit, I think there should be zero tax on them. Like literally just 0% tax, because I think it's so unfair to them. Because we
Yeah, that
always
would encourage startup in the first place, because even like today, when you start a business with all this taxation, like you're not making a profit for at least
a
a
couple
year and a half,
years,
2 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like they always the politicians, man. I know I sound like some like crazy conspiracy nut, but they always talk about like they consistently talk about like let's encourage small business, and then they're not lowering tax on them, and they're not giving them the tools to succeed. They're just letting them starve in the wind. Like there are people trying really hard to start businesses out there. You hear about it all the time, and they just fail. Or and you occasionally hear the success story of someone who made it out and did it. Like it's so unfair. Like these corporations, they should face massive penalties because they don't encourage competition anymore. Capitalism is about competition. That's what we should be encouraging, and is about innovation. And most big companies, I'm sad to say it, but there's a reason why Apple, they make the same phone every year. That's like the meme now. It's like a
Yes,
joke.
yes,
They make
yeah. Better camera, yeah.
they don't have any innovation. Same with Samsung now. To be honest, they kind of just are. They don't really innovate. Like there's a flip phone, but like we're going back. We're making a flip phone that we already had basically a couple like 20 years ago.
Yes,
Like
because the companies themselves are so massive. Like you can see it in the way we speak, even when somebody gets a new phone, you ask them, "Oh, is it Samsung or iPhone?"
yeah,
You don't ask what phone is it. It's automatic. You think Samsung or iPhone.
yeah, and I agree that most small businesses probably wouldn't be able to make a phone. That's probably realistically. So you need big business for that. But like at the end of the day, we can still have small business for stuff that doesn't require that. Like look at what comes to mind for me is food immediately. Small business can do it. It's been proven. Medium business can do it. Supermarkets, I think medium business can help fill that gap and make more competition for the big businesses. And also, club cards for big stores right now.
Oh yeah, and vouchers.
I think they should be illegal. I think they're harvesting our data.
Whoa, illegal. Whoa, tyranny.
I know, but they. I think
No,
I.
I know what you mean. Not illegal, but like it just shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, the right. I support the right to privacy. So I actually do think it should be illegal. One of the few times I think it should be
Actually,
completely. Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. When it
I
affects
they're
the
collecting our
individual,
data.
yeah.
They're infecting our individual rights, in my opinion, and I think they're taking it away from us. And they're selling. They're obviously selling it to Google or someone, and they're just they're learning our habits. They're learning our shopping habits, so they can
Yes, like
advertise to us.
I know this sounds crazy when we say it out loud, but like cookies and websites, like didn't you say you don't accept cookies ever?
Yeah, no, I genuinely like if I go on a new website, I click on like more options and I'll make sure I'm only accepting the essential ones. Like I just do not want to sell my data. I want to make it as hard as possible for them at least.
Yes, and that's so valid.
I think most people just accept the cookies. I mean, I get it. But
Yeah,
like
because like it's fine.
I used to accept them, but I deleted all my cookies and some of the data was probably already sold. Who knows? There's probably a lot of data on me. I don't know. But there's also the point of this brings up to mind. I just remembered that obviously the UK doesn't have a constitution, like a formal one.
Yes, we are talking
We
about
have
this.
no
It's just law.
rights. Well, so, I know we're saying that as if we're like some like marginalized community, but we
No,
don't have any rights. Like we generally don't.
like ratified on paper, you mean? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Like we don't have any formal rights, and that's dangerous because the government can just push out a new law, repeal an old law, and boom, the
Yes,
rights
or like
gone.
interpret it to their like convenience, like you were saying with the Public Safety Act and
Yeah,
the.
it's some laws are really broad on purpose. Like
Yes, I was talking about the trial of Roger
yeah,
Casement.
I
He
remember
commit
this.
treason, yeah.
I
He
remember.
commit treason against Britain by shipping guns from Germany during World War One into Ireland to start a rebellion. But his defense was he commit this treason outside of the UK, so he cannot
Mm.
be tried for treason because the law was written in like 1301 or something, way back.
Mm-hmm.
It was written in French, actually. Funny enough, it was in
Oh
French.
yeah,
The law was in French.
I've heard of this case. I
But
had.
yes, the law stated that treason can be tried at the capital punishment if it is committed within the kingdom or the king's realm. Now, back then, the king's realm was the king's castle where the king
Yeah,
lived,
yeah, yeah.
the domain, whatever.
His
His
domain,
realm,
his
like London, for
vicinity.
example.
Yeah, his vicinity.
London was the realm of the king. His kingdom was the UK.
Yeah.
But they put a comma afterwards. They put a comma that it can be tried at a capital offence in the realm, comma, and no, sorry, what am I saying? I'm misinterpreting it. The kingdom comma, and the realm. So that extended it
Ah, yeah,
to
yeah.
anywhere. The realm.
Nowadays,
Like,
yeah.
what is the realm, comma, the realm? Like, where can that be?
I also talked
So,
about this. I remember this last thing because I talked about textualism and contextualism when it comes to law. Because right now, modern law interprets law literally. Like, we'll look at the actual text and see what's on it. Rather, before, they used to interpret laws by looking at the surrounding context of which the law was written. For example,
yes.
of that, like back then, they would have interpreted realm as in within the country, but nowadays we
Oh, sorry,
interpret it.
no, I miss
Oh,
cited it. It's the king's realm or elsewhere. My apologies, my
ah,
apologies. They put a comma after his realm, comma, or elsewhere. Now, where
ah,
does or
oh
elsewhere? Where does that
yes,
stand?
as
Yes,
as
the
in
king's
within the
realm or
country. Yeah,
elsewhere.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I get it.
originally, that meant the king's realm, so London, the king's realm, his castle, and London, or elsewhere, the
Within the
kingdom,
yeah,
the
yeah,
UK. But they put a comma after his realm, comma, or elsewhere. That could be anywhere in the world.
yeah. And nowadays we associate it with like a different
Yes, and then
place.
they hanged Roger Casement for treason. They
Yeah,
hanged him.
yeah. And I don't really know much
And that's
about
another debate, actually.
it.
Capital punishment in itself. I do not
Yeah,
support capital punishment.
I don't support the government's right to take a life because I think it's just too much power for the government. I'm
Yeah.
always about like I'm my main notions of like are literally freedom and liberty and power. I think power is one of the things that is not talked about in politics at all. I feel like it's like we need to weigh the scales quite
Yes, yes,
neatly.
and that confuses people so much because people, when they see extremist ideologies like no, no, not capitalism, sorry,
Yeah.
communism and fascism and everything. You could argue capitalism as well in the modern
Yeah, I
sense,
guess so. In
how these
our sense,
oligarchies form.
if we
Yeah, in our
assume
sense, then
our
yeah, it
point,
is
yeah,
extremism,
yeah,
capitalism. Yeah,
yeah,
they see all of these ideologies and they say like, hey, like that's it's so different. The ideology of communism and fascism. How can that be so like comparable? How can that be so? Uh, how can you compare that? You can't. They're so different. But the ideology they support is power.
yes,
The
yeah,
thing
yeah,
they
yeah.
seek all is power,
Same for dictators. Dictators
just
just
through
use an
different means.
ideology. Yeah, they just use it's just a means to their goal, which is power. And it's all about power for them. Like there's a reason why Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are best
Yeah, people
friends.
look at Putin and China to say like, hey, they're different countries, they're different
Different
belief system,
ideologies.
different
Yeah,
politics. Like they can't, get along in the long term, and we kind of see that with all these like trade sanctions and whatever on paper. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But like they are friends, obviously, because first of all, I talked about this. China bought all of Russia's oil because Europe and the wider world keep sanctioning Russian oil. So China bought it at a discount, and
yeah.
now China's selling that Russian oil to the wider world. So see, it's just circumventing
The
bureaucracy.
sanctions. Yeah, and
Anyways,
they also do
people say
military
like, hey,
operation exercises together as well.
yeah, together,
So
together, and they say like, hey, but they're so different. Russia and China, like China is
yeah, they're best friends because they're both
communist,
dictators.
socialist,
That's it.
and
It's like
Russia
it's
is
simple.
all of that.
They're
Yeah,
they're
but yeah,
different.
they seek power. They seek power. The belief they have is power.
Yeah. Same with Hitler and Japan in World War II. It was the exact same. They don't. They're actually very different, but they just work together to
Yeah.
get their goal, which was power. It's really sad, to be honest, how people, and I think it's not really appreciated that that is we should do our best when making governments to try discourage power as much as possible by balancing it, by distributing it. I think is more important. I think we should spread it out. That's why I support local government and worker unions and mutual credit banks and low level capitalism, so no one gets that level of power ever again. Um, that's in the future. Hopefully,
Yes,
we
and the
get.
thing is people like, for example, in the UK and in Ireland or in
Oh
Europe,
yeah, Jesus.
yeah, they like okay. When you look at America, you can actually see the politicians in real time commit corruption through their like illegal like investments, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not talking about that. In Europe here, we don't have that level of corruption. Fair enough, but the thing is that politicians, I'm not going to say they're corrupt, but they have it too good. They have it too warm and cuddly and cozy. That
Oh yeah.
they don't feel that pressure. They don't feel the hot seat under them to do good for the people. They don't feel the pressure from the people to do good for their people. They're like, oh, I'm in office. I'm gonna do what I like.
That's
And
a.
this ties into my view
Mhm.
of why our tax money is spent so ineffectively,
And
in
carelessly.
insufficiently. Because
Yeah.
yes, okay, say you're in office
Yeah.
in our modern
And
world,
you
you're
get
given a
like
budget
10 billion.
from a different bureaucracy. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're given 10 billion. You're like, okay, that's the money I have. That's what I'm going to spend.
Yeah.
I'm
You.
not going to look for ways to save money, not look for ways to like
Yeah.
and better the plan of saving or spending this money. You're like, that's the money I have. I'm going to spend this
Yeah.
because who's gonna bring me to trial or whatever? Who's gonna make me account for the money I spend? I'm like, hey, this is the money I was given. I'm going to spend this.
Yes. Exactly. It's
And if
because.
there's any excess, then they use it for like themselves, like the government in Ireland. I told you they built a bike shed for themselves
Oh
for
yeah.
I think 180,000 euro,
In Hungary, didn't they
something
build a
insane.
golden toilet or something in Hungary? I swear.
Yeah.
Or something. I can't remember. Let me search
Yeah,
it
but that was
up.
different because that was like authoritarianism. Like Viktor
Yeah.
Orban was a dictator in essence.
Yeah, it's a
He had like,
golden
did you
toilet.
see the new? What was the guy's name? Meyer, Macher, or someone. He was giving us a tour of the palace, and he had like the Orban, the previous guy, had like foot massagers, like jet jacuzzis for
Oh
his
my
feet,
god. That's
golden toilets. Like you see, that's what I mean.
it's
If
and
there's no,
that's true. If you're given a budget, they're just gonna spend it, aren't they? Like what's the
yeah,
incentive to save money? There isn't any. They don't have
exactly.
not any incentive, which is
Like, weren't you reading like where you live a few years back? They were redoing the public park. They were building a
oh
playground,
yeah, it was
and
fan.
you're reading up.
It cost 500K to build a park.
Yes.
It was ridiculous. 500K
And
park.
like for like a row, you were reading into this in depth. Like for like a row of flowers, it was like 3,000 for like a row of like roses and daffodils and tulips
Here we go.
in the park.
Here we go. Damage following a £500,000 upgrade. Look at this. This cost 500K. Okay,
Yeah,
so
500,000.
this is what this is like. Okay, I'm not agreeing with vandalizing. I'm not saying we should
Yeah,
vandalize
obviously,
something.
like you shouldn't,
But what I
obviously, but
am
like,
saying is this shouldn't cost 500K in the first place. This
it's
should
literally a playground.
this is we could how many houses how many apartments could we buy for 500K? Let's say each one costs we could buy four. Let's say okay, we can buy four apartments. Okay,
How many migrants can we house for one night?
and we can and house 8 people in 4 houses. That is a meaningful impact. Whereas a playground, yes, we need playgrounds. Not saying we don't, we need them, but they're not
Yes, yes.
essential compared to housing. You know, that's what we're trying to get at. And the fact that they cost 500K in the first place is ridiculous. They shouldn't even. They should be a fraction of that. And people will try to be like, oh, but it costs this and that, and yeah, like look at this, like this 500K, 500K for a toilet. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Like, this is ridiculous. This shouldn't cost that much. Like, how? I
And you
don't
see,
know.
yes, I agree with you, but again, this is also a fine line to walk and a dangerous line because, for example, communists, their main, or Marx himself actually wrote, his main belief is that we have too much, I think, like insufficient or inallocated work. Like we produce too many useless things. For example, when I talk to my communist friends, I give them examples like, what do you mean by this? Like,
Mm.
we're inefficient with our production. Like what? What do you deem as useless? Like fridge magnets. Should we have people working in factories making fridge magnets? And they said no, we shouldn't, because that's stupid. That's useless. We shouldn't have fridge magnets.
Yeah.
And you see what it unravels. Like, where's the cutoff point for them?
Yeah.
An
What's
example, like we're saying,
essential?
like
Yeah.
yeah, like we shouldn't spend this much money
No
on playgrounds, but
TVs. No
play
TVs.
we need to have playgrounds. Obviously, it's invaluable for the community itself.
Yeah.
Playgrounds, parks, areas of natural beauty,
At least we
of course.
recognize that, though. We
Yes, we need it,
recognize
but
it.
what all we're saying is we need to spend we need to allocate our money more wisely. We're not saying get rid of playgrounds, build high-rise apartments because that's more useful. We
Mm.
need to house people more than building parks and playgrounds. We're not saying that. We're saying just to allocate our funds more reasonably.
Wisely, and also just using the money we already have more wisely. just using it in a way that's cost effective and will not waste 500k. If you get 500k for a park, you should be able to do it, in my opinion, in 100k. Okay, like it should not cost as much. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Like what is going on with spending? Like it just, to me it seems like we're just wasting money. Like I
We
genuinely,
are. Yeah,
we
that's a good
are.
way to put it.
Well, yeah, you
We are
are.
wasting money.
We just are wasting money. It's crazy. It. I don't. It's a whole thing, isn't it? Just government list, because also because contracting, because governments contract a lot of the work. Like people, contractors know the government don't care, so they'll just rubber stamp a really high price, and the government will be like,
Yeah,
okay,
like, oh yeah,
here you
perfect, yeah.
go, perfect. Here's your grant. Now go do it, and they just paid them like a 30% markup for what the job actually should have cost. You know. And if you're a government desk employee and you have like a sheet with you with prices, it's not the same as if it's your own money in the line, you know. If it's your own money,
Yes,
you're
that
gonna
is
look
true.
at it more closely and think more closely. Oh man, it really riles my gears. And the thing is, what
But
annoys
again, there's
me,
this debate. Oh, sorry, yes.
most politics nowadays isn't about talking about things like this. It's mostly talking about like, I got you. Like modern politics. Have you ever listened to modern debates in politics? It's always about like,
Yes, they're trying to catch each other out, like,
yeah,
aha, look at
exactly,
you.
exactly, exactly. It's like a catch-22
It's
moment.
never
Like,
to come to an agreement. It's never to do that. It's always to like, ah, look at this stupid idiot.
yeah, like, oh look, I got these policies and his policies are bad. Vote for me. Like, come on, man. Like, let's talk at the substance of your policies. Let's talk about how we actually will change the world. Like,
Yes. Okay. Before we move on, sorry, what was I going to say? Yes, how you said it would be different if the politicians or the bureaucrats would have to spend their own money on stuff like this. But
yeah.
it's the debate again. Should we pay politicians highly, or should we not pay them at all?
Oh, I think you should pay them highly to disencourage
Yeah, to
bribery.
discourage
Yeah.
corruption, but like I said, they will never feel it with their own money, so they will never be incentivized
That's
to.
true. That's true. But I
There's the
think,
debate.
and I also think just having more politicians means that you won't have to pay them as highly, because you won't have to worry about bribery as much. And then I also think having the multiple layers of government. I think like I personally think like every 1,000 people should get one representative. Like I'm pretty like very low key, like a very low tier level of government. Like if you have, how many people would that be? Just out of curiosity, how many people live in Scotland? Let's say 5.5 million. What was that?
Is
Five,
it? Yeah, I think so.
5.5. Let's just say, and then divided by 1,000 people. That's 5,500 representatives. Okay, that's actually not as many as I thought it was going to be. That's pretty reasonable. That's a pretty reasonable number in my opinion. Um, so you have about 5k. Let's see, representatives. And then you'll have like state governments and national governments. So let's say 8,000 people in total elected. Let's be honest. How many people are employed by the current government already? In the grand scheme of things, let's check. How many people work in NHS Scotland? I think it'll be a lot more than 8,000. 188,000. Boom.
Yeah,
So
look at that.
if we can have 188k in the healthcare, what's to stop us from having a lot of elected representatives? Like, that's the argument I've never got. Like, people always say, oh, it's going to be really hard to get anything done. It's already hard to get anything done. like, it's like we're already
Yeah,
having issues with this. Like it doesn't. I don't think it's the matter of the number. I think it's also how we talk about politics in the modern day. I see so many debates, and you're right. It's the catch-22 moment. It's all about catching each other out. It's not a genuine debate anymore. It's not about like talking to people.
yeah.
Like,
It's not trying to resolve a problem. It's trying to see who's more right, who's more
yeah,
righteous.
who's more correct? And it's and it's nice. It's really refreshing when you do see a debate where they just talk about ideas and problems and how to fix them, in a way. Because I think everyone should be able to agree that we all want to make our country better, but we just have very different ways of doing it. And sometimes our values stem from. I feel like I firmly believe, right, and I've thought about this a lot, that our values guide the way. Our not and values is a weird. I don't want to put it that way actually. Like I believe in freedom, probably the most. That's probably the driving
Yes,
force of my politics.
yes, the baseline.
Whereas maybe reform and Nigel Farage, I'd say it's about security and mainly. I get that kind of sense from him. And then Labour, it's more about safety rather than security. It's similar, but it's different. It's safety. It's about equality, and I think those are really important things to point out from each other because they drive a lot of our politics and they drive a lot of what we believe in. I think it's really fascinating to look at that. And
It is, and very important. People disregard politics in general.
oh
Like
yeah,
it's so interesting to like we were talking about something to do with like communities and how people view each other, like members of the community. Like nowadays, when you say you're into something, when you have a passion for something, you people treat you like, oh, that's a bit weird. Like, why do you care about that so much? But when you say like, I don't care about this, I don't care about politics. Politics are boring. I don't really care. It doesn't really bother me or affect me that much. Like people are like, oh, cool, yeah, perfect. That's no problem. But if you say like, I really care about this political issue, I'm into politics. I love debating. I love talking about this. Like they're like, oh, like that's a bit odd. Why do you care about that? Like, you know what I mean?
I think mm, it is hard. I think people are just disinterested. I think mainly because they're disenfranchised, as I talked about earlier. I
Yeah, like
think
I said, people are so used to the system at hand. Like, oh well,
yeah,
I'm
they're
gonna
just
live life like
they
this.
can't envision a better world sometimes. Like they can't envision us being where a world where everyone has a representative. Like I find it like absurd that there can be a representative for 100,000 people. It's just dumb. It's just like there's no one can represent 100,000 people. You know, like
Yes, obviously. Like when you say that out loud, that sounds so ridiculous.
yeah, it's ridiculous, and we just accept it as fact because like oh the inner workings of government we need to like do this and that. And it's like no, like we need low level. We need to accept that there needs to be a lot more representatives around. And I know I keep saying that. I know it's a bit tired, but like should we change? Should we change the topic? Because like I'm trying to think of what else we could discuss that's really meaningful.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
going? Are you going?
I do have to eat soup before I
Oh.
leave.
You have to eat soup if you leave. What time do you leave? Oh, it's 6. And
Uh,
it's nearly that.
no, 5:30 because I gotta be there early.
Oh, wait, what time's it there? 4.
It's an hour later, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's 5 in 14 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Alright. Oh, wow. We were so having such
Yes,
a.
but this is.
Oh, there was so much more I want to discuss. But it'll do. We'll do it next time. Episode 1.
Oh yeah, of course.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.